Well, hopefully you found that piece interesting and enlightening as far as how the degree to which androgen insensitivity syndrome can interfere with the biology of the development of gonads and things like that, and can instead produce a person who absolutely in every way appears female until really the person has a reason to explore more deeply. I think my internet is down, so that's why I'm getting this message. So hold on. I'll just let this show. And I thought her case was really an interesting case as well because of the silence that was surrounding it. And that was really common among, pediatricians and doctors that were dealing with children who had ambiguous genitalia or had, incongruent genitals to chromosomes and things like that, was to just, usually the advice they would give the parents is to just raise the person as if they were female. And as long as everybody agrees to that, and everybody acts like that, and everybody treats the person like that, then they will, in fact, just grow up female and it won't be a problem. And so I've provided for you in the classroom links to a video that has to do with that mentality and how it actually manifested itself in a person who they attempted to raise as female and never felt female, and wasn't female, but was told that he was. And so it's a really good case study of how you can't necessarily overcome the effects of biological sex just through, sheer will of wanting to tell the person that they are something else. Just raise them as female and then they'll adopt that viewpoint. That's really talking about the development of gender identity. Here I've got another joke. This is just a joke. I didn't draw it, but I did pick it and I did put it here, but I thought it's a joke, right? That the major thing that males think about is sex, and then the major thing females think about is chocolate. These kinds of, I love the mystery moods and behaviors in the female brain, right? You got the power tools lobe in the male brain. It's just obviously a joke, but the idea that, males and females are, just inherently different sort of takes away from the nuances of like what we've been taught we're supposed to be like. The reason why this picture is a joke, the reason why people laugh at it, is because it suits our stereotypes, right? Now, of course, stereotypes, as a member of a group that's being stereotyped, we might agree that other people in our group have that, but not us. You know what I mean? We oftentimes will kind of adopt stereotypes too, even for our own group. Definitely we stereotype the other group, whatever group we're talking about, whether it's the other sex or, other political party or whoever we want to use as examples of, in-group and out-group. We do tend to stereotype the other group. That's just sort of natural human cognition. But our social milieu helps us to determine what those stereotypes should be. I've had a lot of students write papers for me over the years in psychology, and a lot of times they'll say, well, in American culture, we have a lot of stereotyping. And it's like, every culture has stereotyping. It may not be stereotyping the same exact thing that we do. Like there may be, a beer lobe in the male brain according to the U.S. stereotype, and maybe there is no beer lobe for the male brain in other cultures. I don't know. But the idea that just, stereotyping is unique to American culture or the United States is, well, that's stereotyping, if you believe that. And it's not true. It's everybody's stereotypes. So let's get into a little bit of how we develop our gender identity. So gender identity refers to the gender with which one most identifies. So for some people, it's a clear cut, their gender identity matches their sex, their biological sex. For other people, there might be sort of a mix where they feel like some aspects of their gender identity do align with their biological sex, but other aspects of their gender identity don't. And then there are other people who just are like completely opposite as far as how they identify and then what sex they have been assigned, right? What sex they are in. And so different people have more or less congruent gender identity. Now, the thing is, the gender is largely determined by your circumstances. Could be your culture, or your family of origin, but it's usually a socialized thing. So let's talk about factors that contribute to the socialization of what it means to be a particular gender. Not necessarily whether you've adopted it or not. It's what the social situation, how it sends that message of what one gender should be doing or like or not. One source of socialization is our parents. Now, I got a nice classic picture from Norman Rockwell, where, the 1950s dad is coming home. He's wearing his suit and his bow tie. Mom's in her dress with her apron on, having baked a home-baked cake that they didn't have boxed mixes for back in those days. She had to make the frosting from scratch. The kids are, nice and gender typed in their dresses and their short pants and their hairstyles. And everybody's got their, parents oftentimes expose their children to the kinds of activities that they would like their children to engage in based on their sex. So maybe this little boy gets to play baseball and the little girls are in dance. I'm just stereotyping this 1950s family. I don't know them. They're Norman Rockwell paintings. So, but the idea is that, parents will put their children in contact with other peers who display characteristics that the parents admire for that child. They'd like them to have those same characteristics or whatever, right? So parents have a lot of control over the experiences that their offspring have. I mean, at the very minimum, where they live has a big impact on their children's, socialization experiences, right? And so who else is in the neighborhood? What kind of school are they going to go to? Those kinds of things are factors that parents they play a giant role in determining. So absolutely, we have to look at parents as, a primary factor in the socialization of everything, including what it means to be a boy or what it means to be a girl. So here we have a modern variation on that. Let's play house. I'll be the mommy and go to the office, and you stay at home to cook and clean and be the wife, right? I thought I'd share that with you because, with modern families, a lot of times, parents think, well, our kids are going to see that we both work, or that mom works and the dad stays home, or that we have these sort of, non-stereotypical roles. And so we don't have to do anything on purpose to convey messages about the value of boys or values of girls and things like that. And what I've discovered in my own personal little N of 2 study called My Son and My Daughter is that they didn't necessarily internalize that we were unusual in our family structure, that, I was the one who worked and my husband stayed home with the kids. He's way better with the children than I am. I mean, he can just engage with what they're doing and not just want to pull his hair out like I do. I'm like, I could be writing something right now. I'm the worst. I hate that about myself, that I have like zero patience forever. And it's not just kids. I just can't ever really just relax and be there ever. And it just drives me crazy about myself, but he's so good at it. And so we're like, you know what? You're better at this. You stay home. And so he stayed home with the kids. And so I thought, oh, this will be great. My kids recognize that, women can work and dads can stay home, as if they would somehow have known that there were dads who worked and moms who stayed home, or that there were families where everybody worked, or that there were families where there was one parent, how would they have known any of that? And so it shouldn't have surprised me when my son was about, 3 or 4, and you start asking stupid questions like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you're like, the kid's like, I don't know, taller than 3 feet. It's kind of a dumb question to ask a little kid, but I go, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he goes, a daddy. And I was like, oh, that's adorable. But he literally thought that's what you grow up and you become when you're a man, is that you grow up and you stay home with kids. And it took him a lot of years. Well, it was kind of a benefit or a deficit. I guess everything's got double edges. That his best friends were 2 boys whose mom was a fire chief and his dad was a nurse. And so they were like flipped also. And so the dad had these nurse hours where he oftentimes was home on like weekdays and times when you wouldn't normally expect a 40-hour week job person to be at home, but he would do I think he was doing 3 12-hour days or he might have been doing 2 24-hour days, some kind of horrible schedule that the dad was on. And then mom, being a firefighter, she was doing similar, like 2 days on and 3 days off or something. So kind of, I think my son got the impression that parents don't work at all. He's like, everybody's always home. I don't know what message they were picking up through what the parents that he knew were really doing. So now as an adult, I ask him, I'm like, so what do you now know? Like what you're supposed to do as a male? And he's like, I don't know. I'm completely confused. But that's the thing. You can't sort of just let kids absorb what's going on in the household and think that they're going to know what kind of nuance is going on or anything like that. They will think whatever they're experiencing in the household is what they, as a member of that sex, are supposed to be doing. That's just what they do. There was a quotable quote in Reader's Digest where this mom who was a pilot for like United Airlines or something, she's in the cockpit and she's there with her co-pilot, and dad has brought the kids down to see mom in the cockpit. And the co-pilot says to the little boy, "Oh, do you want to be a pilot when you grow up?" And he goes, "No, that's for girls." It's like, kids definitely do not get the message that parents intend a lot of the time. So it's maybe important to be a little bit more deliberate about our socialization strategies, because by default, they might get the wrong message. Now, I know I just emphasize how important parents are, but I really, really want to emphasize the role of peers. One of the things that parents do that's really important is putting their children in positions to meet peers, to be around peers. They facilitate friendships with peers. And peers have a big impact in socializing what the peer group has determined are the appropriate behaviors based on sex. So peers will give you feedback about how you should dress or how you should act or what kinds of things you should like to do. And that can be way more powerful than the messages that are being given at home, in fact, because if you're at school and being teased for wanting to behave in a way that is incongruent with what the peers want you to be doing, it can be very harmful. And so I really want to underscore that peers, it's like their goal in life, and it's not any individual peer. It's like, it is what being in a peer group is about, is that we want to all sort of like get on the same wavelength. And so behaviors that are consistent with what we value are rewarded, and behaviors that are inconsistent with what we value are punished. And they might be punished with teasing. They might be punished with abuse. They might be punished with casting you out. Like, we don't want to be in your group anymore. And so peers wield their power in a lot of different ways. And so, and they can be really, really harmful. And a lot of times kids internalize the messages that they get from their peers really seriously. So here we have an example where we got two little boys working on a math problem on the board, and one says, "Wow, you suck at math." Now we've got that same little boy working with a girl, and she's having the same problem, and he says, "Wow, girls suck at math." Right? So it's like, if you're working with somebody who's a member of your in-group and they're having difficulty, you assume that it's them, that they're the one with the shortcoming. But if you're working with somebody who's from the other group and they have trouble, you're like, "Oh, poor you," and other people like you, right? I'm going to say that the reason why you're having trouble isn't because of individual differences, but because you're belonging to that group. So I apologize for the barking going on in the background. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I'll come back in my next segment and we can talk about how teachers influence socialize. Oh, I think he might be stopping. Yeah, I'll come back.